Please have a good connection. Let's offer something up
Pray
to
to the data gods.
The data gods. I like that you call it data gods and not connection gods. So hopefully this is okay. I'm telling your followers, you started a live video, and just see if people come in. Okay, Eric's here, which means that we've connected. And then Amy is here, so we've connected. And then Green Black Oolong is here, so we've connected too. Yes! Okay, we're connecting. Finally! Thank goodness. Hi guys, how's it going? Good afternoon from a beautiful cloudy day in Vegas. It's not very common for us to have nice weather like this in the desert. I know that some of you are probably wishing for some sunshine wherever you guys are. Quebec, I've never been there. It sounds like a really cold place. But, you know, we're happy when it's cloudy here in Vegas. TJ9 is here. Jeremy, how's it going? T-Gram Sweden. Salam, how's it going? Eric is peachy. I'm really happy that when you're peachy. And Joe from Fish Anywhere is here. Yeah, all the tea friends are coming up. I'm glad the connection's going okay, guys. Again, let us know, please, 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 if the connection's not working. Seems like we're having some bad luck today as well. Maybe better luck than yesterday. But I believe in the power of the tea connection that you guys will be okay. We will connect. And while we wait for some friends to come in, we will preheat some teaware and get ready to talk about some pu'er as usual. Joe is calling us beautiful tea peeps. That's BTP. Hello BTP, beautiful tea peeps. How's it going? I'm so happy. I'm having a good day today. Got some like maple syrup like breakfast. I probably have consumed a good cup or two of maple syrup over the last 24 hours. Just in terms of, you know, just exploring and yeah. But we're gonna focus on pu'er today. Weekend's over, so it's back to work for us. I hope you guys have some pu'er with you. Let us know what you're drinking today. Today, we are drinking Huang Pian. This is one of my favorites. Maybe that's why I'm so excited. It's the pu'er that, to me, it doesn't really taste like pu'er because pu'er is supposed to be intense and it's got some grit to it. This one definitely does have flavor, but Huang Pian is a kind of, we can call it a grade of pu'er, but it's not a formal grade. It's the stuff that's sorted out from the main pu'er production process, which is why you're getting like these stems and this kind of like janky looking stuff. It's not the most beautiful looking tea in the world, but it has its own charm. It's kind of rustic, and like many things that start out as being pretty rustic and kind of low-key, there's some merits to it that we can kind of like discover together. Again, Huang Pian is one of my favorite types of pu'er. Huang Pian, so it's Huang, Huang, Pian, Huang Pian. It means yellow leaf, or yellow like pian's like a thin thing, so we can just call it yellow leaf. And you'll notice it's a little bit lighter colored than most pu'er. A shang pu'er. This is a shang pu'er. It's pretty light colored, kind of uneven looking too. But we'll drink it up after we start brewing and preheating stuff. Let me know how you're doing. How's everyone doing? As usual, I hope that you have pu'er on the docket today. We are on day 6 of the Pu'er Love Challenge here at Tea Curious. Yeah. I see that Akasakura Yuki is here. How's it going, Mel, today? Thanks. I'm glad. I like our setup today, too. We're just in a good mood. And then Petra Barres is here. And Shiloh from Nuev Orden is here today, too. And me, La Fontaine. La Fontaine? Oh, God. French friends. Amy, please help me. S'il vous plaît. Please help me. Yeah. So the reason why I you know, decided to switch out our typical Gaiwan for a pot today is because, number one, I'm pretty confident brewing Huang Pian, and number two, this shang pot, this is a shang pu'er pot. It didn't start out as a shang pu'er pot. I'd actually wanted it to be, with all my heart, either an oolong pot or a green tea pot. And those of you who collect teapots or use teapots for certain teas will know that the pots are kind of like the sorting hat from Harry Potter. You know, like the pot chooses the tea doesn't choose the pot. even if you're like wishing with all your heart, oh, it looks like it's just such a good, like it looks such a, it's just for green tea. It's just so green tea vibes. The pot will decide what it wants to brew well. And me being a little bit pu'er shy, I was like, man, is it really gonna be sheng pu'er? It's one of my favorite pots. It's a really beautiful wood-fired pot from my teacher in Taiwan. Little like facets going on there, and this is not painted. The color comes from the wood fire. So y'all ceramics nerds and ceramicists, enjoy. But it does really well with pu'er. The only problem, which some of you might have noticed, is it's kind of big. Look how big this guy is, okay? Like compared to my Gaiwan for scale. Okay, it's pretty big. The Gaiwan is a good like 100 ml, but the pot is more bulbous. Bulbous. I can't even speak English right. It's more round. So this pot's a good like, I think 300 to 400 ml. So it's a lot. Maybe 300. It's not that big, but it's not your typical small teapot that, you know, we usually recommend to use a smaller teapot for pu'er so that you can pour in and then pour out really quickly to do a flash tea. Just make sure it's not too bitter. But here's why Huang Pian is so cool. Because Huang Pian is sorted out from the original kind of like sheng pu'er material, it's a little bit less bitter because it's the older leaves, it's the leaves that are a little bit less perfect. So your stems, we've learned from like tasting stems before, they're not as bitter, they're more aromatic, more sweet. The older you go on the bottom of the tea leaf or the tea tree or the tea bush, the less complex, like the less fancy the leaves are, but the more kind of sweet and mellow and, you know, a little bit more friendly they tend to be. Another bonus is this stuff tends to be cheaper. So I like that. I like cheap stuff. You know, I like saving money so I can buy more tea and waste more money. It's a win-win situation for me, you know? So that's why I like Huang Pian. Let's get this started. What I'm going to do today, I don't usually weigh out my leaves, but Huang Pian is, you know, the older leaf material. I want to kind of get used to putting the right amount in. And when you're dealing with older leaf material, it tends to be a little bit lighter than the regular tea of the same type. So Huang Pian version of sheng pu'er versus the same sheng pu'er, but like the upper leaves, the younger leaves, the more expensive leaves, you know, quote unquote, the higher grade leaves. This will be a little bit lighter looking. So I just want to make sure I'm using the right amount here before I get started. Let's see, use this, yeah. Just so you can, I just want to make sure I use the right amount. So guess how much this is. This looks like to me like, if it's a regular pu'er, I'd say like 7 grams, you know? I wonder if this is 7 grams here. I bet it's gonna be less because it's a Huang Pian. Okay, it's 8 grams, which means that I tend to underestimate how much leaf there is, but it's still not what I expected. Yeah, so good. 7 grams, 8 grams. I actually want to use more. So, because my pot's so big, I'm glad I weighed it out, because with a big pot like that, I'm going to use a little bit more of this guy. So I want it to be around like maybe 10 grams. It's a big pot. Got a lot of drinking today. Almost there. I don't usually weigh out my tea leaves, you guys know that. But in situations where I want to be sure, I will. Okay, there we go. It's like 10 and some change. So that's a lot. For 10 grams, it's a lot of leaf. I think that if you saw this amount with like a regular pu'er, it would be like 15 grams. But this leaf is less dense. It's less concentrated, so it's a little bit lighter overall. And I'm not going to break it up. I'm just going to put it in there. I'm just kind of feeling really low-key today. Yeah. So this, again, is the Alter Ego from Bitterleaf. The 2017 Alter Ego from Bitterleaf. Bitterleaf Teas is bitterleafteas.com, I think. And they're based out of Yunnan, I believe. And they sell pu'er and lots of pretty things. If you're on a tea budget, don't go there. If you don't mind browsing for tea and can control yourself, go there. I've never had this cake before, but I'm excited. Has anyone else tried Alter Ego or have it in your collection? Curious. Tea curious, as usual. So Amy, I'm following up on your French lesson for me. La Fontaine. La Fontaine, good. And then checking Buddha says Yixing. What kind of Yixing clay? This is actually not Yixing. It is a clay pot. This is a Taiwanese wood-fired clay. What the blend is of the clay, it's half Japanese and half Taiwanese clay. And from what I understand, the Taiwanese potters like to work a lot with Japanese clay because it tends to be a little bit harder, a little bit better for long periods of firing. So they blend the clay. So that's an important thing for you guys to note. If Taiwan is willing to import Japanese clay to Taiwan when they've got lots of soil there, there's lots of soil in Taiwan. It's an island, but there's earth there. Why import clay from somewhere else? This happens also with Japanese pots, where your pot might be from Tokoname, but your potter in Tokoname might still be getting clay from somewhere else to kind of blend with the clay that they have to kind of help what they're trying to achieve. Same thing with Yixing pots. Even if something is purple clay or red clay, Juni, etc., there's no governing body that says, hey, if you're going to call that Juni or Hongni, you can only use that clay. Potters can do, blends. So just be aware of that when you're buying these clays. So this is a Taiwanese potter, Taiwanese-Japanese blend. We actually have some Taiwanese wood-fired stuff that's half Japanese and half American. And I'm like, I'm in friggin' Taiwan, right? When I'm asking this lady this, I'm like, why not use Taiwanese clay? And she's like, it's too expensive, and the Japanese and American stuff is just good, and it tastes really good. So kind of interesting. Little kind of side note there. And that's why the pots are so difficult to kind of predict what they're going to do. Because even if you know your pot's from Tokoname, I'm sure you know, right? It says there on the label. Your vendor was, super knowledgeable, knows it's from Tokoname. You still don't know if the potter's mixing it with something else. Different potters will have different clay blends, different parts of the area they collect clay from. So yeah, just like anything in tea, it's more complicated than it seems. But fun, as long as you kind of take a tasting forward approach to it. Anyway, before we start brewing this, let me say hello to Bitterleaf and Co. Is that right? Gosh, I'm turning everything French now. Ronan, bonsoir. Very, very late bonsoir for you. And then 23 Axolotl, hola, how's it going? And Shiloh, iron rich clay. I'm not sure if it's iron rich. Does it mean that if there's red on the clay, it's always iron rich? I don't know. Here's another one from the same potter. This is Chahai I'm going to use, Gongdabe I'm going to use. Need some big pictures from them big pots. You know what I mean? And yeah, we're just going to hit this around 10 grams of Huang Pian in our pots. And I do love this pot for shangpuer, but imagine brewing a really, really bitter shangpuer inside this pot where it's a little bit difficult to pour out. It's going to take, at least 10, 15, 20 seconds for the entire thing to pour out. It's a big pot. The bigger the pot, the longer it takes for you to pour out everything. So think about your tea design here. Even if I know this pot is really good with shangpuer, I can't put a really finicky shangpuer inside of it. Just kind of like, oh, okay, so is it really a sheng pot? So when I thought about which teaware to use today for the Huang Pian, I was like, oh my god, Huang Pian as a pu'er tends to be very soft, very mellow. The one criticism I find about Huang Pian people say is it's musty or kind of empty feeling. And that makes sense because it's older leaves, right? It's not going to have as much oomph, it's not going to have as much complexity. So I'm going to use my sheng pot to kind of bring that out. And if it oversteeps just a little bit, this is the tea you kind of want to bring some of that bitterness and structure out anyway. So I think we're good. This is all theory, by the way. I didn't test this. you know, it's just, I think we will be good. I think we'll do well today. We'll see. And I'm not even worried about it brewing a long time. That's another good thing about Huang Pian is you can kind of grandpa style it. You don't have to baby it so much. If this was like a really tippy, high grade, like young Bulang Shang or something, it's not old tree, it's just like really potent, you're gonna be like, oh my god, I'm gonna put the water in while the water is pouring and you gotta pour it out already, otherwise it's gonna get bitter. I'm not worried about this guy. Yeah. It is a very nice pot though. I'm not saying it takes too much of a long time to pour. It's just so big. But the pour is just beautiful. I love these pots. They're great. Okay. Nice. And then I'm going to leave that lid on. You guys ready? The chaha is also Taiwanese wood fire clay from the same maker. And the cups are also from the same maker. Yeah, so kind of matchy, kind of sort of not. Shiloh, I remember your comment the other day about, you know, the stories of your teaware. And yeah, I like having these pots that have a story, these cups that have a story. I used to be a big, like, white porcelain all the time. Like, as clean as possible, as minimal as possible. Like, oh, you know, these pots are so... They're so, like, they're so different. Like, they're not my style. And if you told me from like 3 years ago that I got this pot, I'm like, wow, that's gorgeous, but why? I don't get it, Ree. It's not really you. I think as I've started collecting handmade teaware, I've allowed the pieces to just kind of be themselves rather than be part of my own taste. Just interesting. So even if something's not really my personal, you know, it really embodies me, it can just be its own thing, which is interesting. Yeah, different. Everything's interesting at Tea Curious. Yeah. Okay, first sheep. Wow. That's like a symphony. Like, oh, we didn't even know if this would be a good match. I've never brewed Huang Pian in this pot. I've only brewed Shang Pu'er, mostly old tree Shang. Shang Pu'er that I know is not going to be too bitter. But this is just a fantastic match. Just, wow. I almost wish I brewed this tea in a gaiwan, because I tend to like to brew a tea I've never had for the first time in a gaiwan. But I'm also just trying to like kind of let go of that controlling mentality a little bit. Plus Steven likes to do that, where I'm like, Steven, we've never had that tea, we need to brew it in a gaiwan, or else. Or else what? Like the tea gods will, you know, like I get upset because I want to know what the tea was before the pot improved it. But you know, and this is coming from, you know, Tea Curious, right? Like, your whole tea journey doesn't have to be an experiment. It could be a series of tea experiments, and then sometimes you just have to enjoy the thing. And if I brewed this in the gaiwan, I really don't feel like I would have as much joy and just harmony as this tea is doing in this pot right now. So I'm kind of glad that we did that. Thanks, Steven. One of my biggest tea influences. Steven right here, beside me, giving me a face. Cool. Good stuff, yeah. Yeah. So Jeremy's saying, TJ9, he's saying, Ree, I'm a sipper. Also, here's a 300 ml pot. That's another thing. I was like, man, Ree, why did you get this 300? Almost, I mean, it's huge, right? I have never measured how much goes into it, actually. This was just from last year, and I would never have chosen this pot, because at the beginning of my tea journey, I was like, oh, 150 ml gaiwan? That's too big! 100 ml or lower. Like 200 ml? That's massive! What would I use with a 200 ml gaiwan? What the hell? Like, what the... So using these huge pots now, it's very different from what I'm used to. But it works. And I find that the better the tea you're working with, the less you have to worry about things oversteeping. So actually, with my big pots, I will sometimes just leave a little bit of tea at the bottom, just to kind of build the body of it before the next steep. Works pretty well. Yeah, it is kind of odd though, isn't it? Our journeys in our teaware tastes. I do have a pot that we use for show pour, but I don't have a sheng pot that's smaller than this. So I usually use the gaiwan. I do like the gaiwan for sheng pour anyway, to bring out the florals, the complexity and stuff. This is so good. This is one of those teas that is so good that I could stop here and be satisfied. Just so delicious. Steven, do you hate it?
No, it's actually pretty comfortable.
Good. Sorry, I went to Tea La La Land right there. I missed out on a lot of our friends who just came in after I started going off. Apathea is here. Henrique. Bom dia, how's it going? Marzi is here too. Let's see. And then Shiloh, as usual, drop in the knowledge. You should just change your name to Nuev_knowledge_Orden. So we can say, his middle name is Knowledge. That's how much knowledge he drops. I'm joking, but seriously, Shiloh, I really appreciate how much patience you have explaining ceramics to us. He says it's likely a blend, not sure of the exact composition, but generally speaking, the red hue seems to suggest its colorant is from red iron oxide. Yeah, it is a blend. I'm not sure if you were here when we were talking about this, but it's a blend of Japanese and Taiwanese clay. So for that, for sure, yes. What the exact blend of it is, and if it's an iron-rich clay, I'm not sure. Wood-fired stuff is kind of interesting. Lots of different colors come from different effects. So these are both wood-fired, you know? Like this one's got some blue in it. Ooh, look at that. Ooh, blue. Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm so happy today. It's just good vibes. So that's just a natural effect of the wood fire ash. So no paint, just wood fire. Really gorgeous. This is actually the cup that my teacher gave me for my birthday last year. And by teacher, I mean I. Those of you who joined us a lot know that, you know, it's not like I's like, oh my god, you know, I pray to her in the morning and ask her for her blessings. I should be, but I don't. She's like my mom. Don't tell her that. She's like my sister. But this is a birthday gift, so yeah, stories of teaware. Not something I would have picked 3 years ago. No friggin' way. I remember when I first had tea at her tea shop, I was like, I love her tea. I just don't get her teaware style. It's just so big. And like, I don't get it. They look kind of like they're burnt up, you know? Especially these guys over here. They look like they've been burnt up. I just like clean teaware. That's how I started. So these guys just look so like someone put them in the oven and left them there for 7 days, which is kind of what happens. But now I like them. And I like this tea. Good stuff. Good stuff. I'm seeing some of you guys are drinking Huang Pian too. Tea Traveler is here. Nicole is here. Cranberries and cream. Delphine. Delphine's my maple syrup hero right now. I have so many Canadian heroes. I have just so many tea heroes. Yeah. Danae from Camellia's Treaty is here. How's it going, you guys? What are you guys drinking today? I'm gonna go ahead and infuse this one more time because even if I'm not done drinking, I think it's gonna sit okay. There's almost no bitterness at all from this Huang Pian. No bitterness at all. Really, really beautiful. And then I promise we'll talk more about the pour in just a bit. But if you're not comfortable with tangents, I feel like you're not going to be comfortable with tea. Tea is just so interconnected. So yes, I realize that I am going on tangents when we do these lives, but it's impossible to talk about one tea concept and not be connected to another tea concept. It's partially why, you know, the Discord, I just love it so much, because the way that I learned about tea, of course, is through reading and through facts and memorizing. I was that kid who was really good in history during, you know, school. I just like to memorize things. But being around just tea conversation, even if you don't pick up on 100% of it, even if you don't pick up on 80% of it, sometimes I'm like in Taiwan and I don't know what they're saying literally because they're speaking Mandarin, and I pick up on like 10%. Or I just look at someone's expression while they're drinking tea. And for some reason, that helps me learn about tea more than like remembering that, oh, Huang Pian is the grade of leaf that kind of like, you know, it's important, but it needs to be in context. So that's why we do the thing that we do at Tea Curious. So I hope that makes sense. But we will talk about the facts though. Facts are important. This is Huang Pian. This is the same tea that's inside our teapot right now, letting it steep. Reason why it's not getting horribly bitter, it's because look at these leaves. They're kind of like old, janky looking. At this point, janky looking is like a compliment. It's a positive thing for me because I like a lot of teas that have a kind of weird look to them, as long as the vendor discloses that the leaves are kind of like not the objectively highest grade material. Like, there's a problem if someone's trying to pass this off as like high grade pu'er, because it's not high grade. But as long as we're able to differentiate high grade versus good, we're good. You'll notice that yesterday during the sticky rice pu'er situation, we had the best pu'er actually have the worst material. I mean, the worst taste. It was chippy, it was kind of fishy, it was just kind of like bad. So the cake visually had the best material, and then it was the worst. It was actually the other two, A and B, that tasted better. So it's really up to your taste and what the tea actually is like that decides whether or not the tea is good, I think. You know? And in this case, I just love Huang Pian. It's something that if you find the label Huang Pian, it's the vendor's being honest that it's a little bit lower grade. You should be paying less for the Huang Pian than you would for another kind of tea, another grade of tea. And I kind of like that it's low waste, you know? It's like this thing that you sort out from the original production and then you're still able to get something good out of it. Because, yeah, you're just not tossing out based on theory. From what I understand too, I learned about Huang Pian through Crimson Lotus around 5-6 years ago. The farmers like to drink this stuff that they sort out for themselves during the harvest season because, you know, if you're a tea farmer, you're probably keeping some good stuff for yourself, but you don't need that good stuff every single day. So you keep the stuff that you sort out because literally they're kind of picking these out. You got your stems here. Look, this is stems. Ugly. Ugh, stems. Gross. You got some old leaves. Ugh, gross. Old leaves. You got some. Oh my goodness. You know, it's just not as attractive to look at in a cake. So they usually sort that out because if you're trying to make a cake look nice, do we got a nice looking cake in here? Yeah. This is actually a very bad cake, but it looks very beautiful. If you're trying to make a cake look like this, okay, like it's very even, you know, it's got the tips, it looks really nice, okay? If you have these extra things in there, look how, oh, gross. They're like yellow, they're not even. Oh, like, let's just sort that out. I'm joking about the gross part. It's just not supposed to be in the standard kind of like, the ideal pu'er cake, right? So, that's why they sort that out. But it still tastes good. The only difference is that it just has a slightly less intense flavor and it's not as visually appealing. Maybe I'm, you know, I would say it has a very significantly less intense flavor than regular pu'er. And what's happening is that the leaves on the bottom of the bush don't have the same amount of polyphenols, caffeine, amino acids, etc. The leaves on the bottom of the bush, if you think about it, the bush the bush is, oh my goodness, the bush is dying. The bush is trying to get light, right? So all the stuff on the very top is your growth, young stuff, like trying to get sunlight. But as the bush grows, the stuff on the bottom isn't as important anymore. So it's doing less photosynthesis, it's doing less growth. It's just kind of there. So the leaves on the bottom, from what I understand, and from what I taste, it seems to be where the tea plant stores kind of like its extra starches, just kind of like food banks. Like the sugar it squirrels away so it can continue to grow and just kind of hang out. So there's less complexity going on the leaves that are on the bottom. But that's why they're so sweet, because all that's left there are like your starches, carbohydrates, etc., and none of the bitterness. So if any of you are drinking a Huang Pian right now, right, isn't it super sweet and super smooth? It's lacking some of that pizzazz, it's lacking a little bit of spice, lacking a little bit of zest, which you get from the tips, from the very top. So just to summarize, the higher you go on the tea bush, the younger the leaves are, the more kind of potent and punchy and also bittersweet they are. The lower on the tea bush, the more kind of smooth, sweet, mellow, a little bit, kind of toned down they tend to be. And I know a lot of you have, heard about this over the last couple of weeks. We've been talking a lot about leaf material and stuff. But even for me, having heard myself talk about it a million times, I just like making that connection again so I remember. This tea is really good. Wow. Goodness gracious me. And from that steep, that was a long steep. That was a really long steep. And yeah, it's just no bitterness. It's great. I didn't even notice that I did I steep it long? I don't even know. That's good, because you don't even know. It's not horribly bitter. It's just coasting. Right? Pretty good. Yeah, good stuff. Almost no bitterness. There's just a tiny bit of dryness at the end, and that's something you should expect from Huang Pian. It's a little bit drying. Any tea that's a little bit older material, like the Wild Mountain White we talked about the other day, has a little bit of drying. The Hui Gan and the Hoyun, like the classic aftertaste you get from the tea, is not going to be as strong, but it's okay. It's a little bit different. As long as a vendor is telling you what it is. If they're like, this is first spring pick, highest grade, Chao Wang, tea king, competition winning. I'm like, competition winning Huang Pian? Oh my god, that's new. Yeah. Passage Claire is here, and Tea Balls is here. You guys make me say balls a lot. Talking about Taiwanese tea balls and stuff like that. Charlotte was talking about the mother water when we have a little bit of tea left over at the very bottom of the pot, steeping the tea even before we put the infusion in. Yeah, I like that word. It's like the root of the tea, the mother spore. What do you call that thing of the kombucha? The mother colony. We just call it the mother, I think, for kombucha. Yeah. This is really relaxing. Oh my goodness. It's just perfect for like the rainy day vibes and just really, really relaxing. These leaves will tend to have a little bit less caffeine than the tips and the young leaves. Caffeine, from what I understand and what I've seen, it tends to be a deterrent against bugs. Plant biology is very complex, but caffeine and bugs don't get along. So tendencies are, the more bugs there are, the tea tends to have more caffeine, but the bugs want the upper leaves because they're soft and they're tasty, they're tender. These old leaves are not as palatable, so they have less of a need to contain caffeine. That's why Huang Pian and Hoji Cha, which is a lot of stems and old leaves too, it tends to be very, very smooth. It's because of the leaf material. Yeah. And then Shiloh says, yes, base of tea, like with sourdough, having a base with which to continue on with the next steep. I'll do that with this steep here so you guys know what we're doing, what we're talking about. I'm just so relaxed. Whew, this is not the tea that you need to be brewing when you're trying to finish a paper, by the way, or trying to stay awake. It doesn't make me sleepy. It just makes me really relaxed. Huh, Steven? I'm like really relaxed. I'm usually chattering, but if you notice, I'm just like zoning. Yeah. Ronan says, I thought exactly the same when she made tea for me. So Ronan also is, I is our teacher, right? So Ronan has drunk tea with I, and she's talking about the feeling about the pots being so big and kind of like burnt looking, and then the moment she like makes you look at it closer, you're like, oh my god, it's like red right here, and then it's gold in the light, and then like there's like this drop right here, and wow, it's completely handmade and it's not painted. Wow. So if you don't want to spend a lot of money on pretty things, don't get into wood fire teaware, my friends. It's dangerous. I've only been in it for like a year. And now we just have so many wood-fired things. It just has so much soul. And soul is very expensive, you know, which is, it should be. It's okay. You know, will pounce on some discount rice or chicken at the store for us to be able to buy handmade teapots. Right, Steven? I'll eat the chicken, you know, but the teapots will last forever. So Delphine says she tasted the tea syrup this morning. This girl is insane. She decided to infuse maple syrup, the legit stuff, not the table syrup stuff we get here in America. I know we get good maple syrup here too, but I've definitely learned a lot about maple syrup in the last couple weeks, talking to our Canadian friends. Did you know that Quebec produces 90% of all the maple syrup in Canada? And Canada produces 70% of all the maple syrup in the world. Therefore, Quebec produces 60%, a little bit more than 60% of all the maple syrup in the world. That's Wikipedia, by the way. And I was like, wow, I thought maple syrup was just like a Canadian thing. Like, everywhere in Canada, there's maple syrup. But it's actually Quebec, specifically. Like the northeast part of Canada. And so I looked into history and stuff like that. Tea makes you like curious about everything, you know? And
Maple
of course,
2020.
Yeah, Maple Love 2020 is like upcoming challenge. Next, I'm just kidding. Instead of Poor Love 2020, it's been 6 days. We can just switch gears, you know? And there's grade A light, I think. Grade A light, grade A amber, or light, amber, dark, and then very dark. And then there's like processing grade. It's cool. And if you have another kind of hobby that you also have in conjunction with tea, maybe I don't have to tell you this already, but it's really interesting how you can use knowledge of other things to help you with your tea practice. Steven plays music, and I don't play music like Steven does. Not to that level. And he understands tea in a different way than I do. And people who do art, I find, understand tea in a different way, and ceramics and cooking, and we have a lot of culinary friends who eventually find themselves in tea. Yeah. If you're Jeremy, what did you take up in college again? Was it sociology? Gosh, I forgot. It was something really smart. History. I think it's history, right? Jeremy, who's drinking a super bitter Huang Pian. Wow, I wonder why it's bitter. What happened there? What happened there? I hope you're okay. Yeah, fantastic, Claire. It's a beautiful gongdabe. Yeah, I like it too. At first, I really didn't like it. It was too speckly for me. But now I've kind of allowed it to be its own thing. It's actually more matte than this. The lights we have in the room, it's really dark in here, are kind of making it shinier than it actually is. The other side will give a better... Yeah, it's more like this. More matte. Speckly, matte. Oh, so beautiful. Like, those like golden speckles. Wood-fired tea where it's dangerous. Yeah. Laurie Tio is here. How's it going? Mama Tea Magic. I like that name. Sonia is here. The Potter's Tea is here. Nice to see you guys. Amy, do you know you can make birch syrup too? I heard about that. I learned about that. I saw that on Wikipedia, so now I'm a maple syrup master. I read it on the internet, so now I'm a maple syrup master. I can tell you everything there is to know about maple syrup. Like, did you know that depending on the time in late winter, early spring that you tap the maple tree, the maple syrup taste will change? And if you tap it later in the season, there's maybe a higher percentage of amino acids in the sap, so it doesn't taste as good because you want it to be sweet, right? Oh, maple mastery. It was just really interesting to learn about. I'm sorry. Yeah, going off in the tangents here. This Huang Pian's really good. Really relaxing. Like a tea you want to drink with some friends, for sure. Ooh, this is getting a little bit fruity, a little tart. Got some character going on. I like this pot for Shang because it tends to bring out some of the complexity, bitterness, and kind of fruitiness of Shang Pu'er. I really like fruity Shang. I like floral Shang too, but something about the fruity, kind of deep, earthy combination I really like in Shang Pu'er. So I think the pot is helping boost some of that flavor in the Huang Pian that I would say it would be a little bit thinner in the Gaiwan. So I'm really enjoying this combination here, very much so. And these cups, they are a different material than the pot and the Gongdaobei, because even if they're from the same potter, the glaze is so different, you know? These pots tend to smooth out the tea a little bit. So any kind of off notes, just smooth it over. So I'm really happy with my tea design today. Really, really happy. So even if it looks like I'm just trying to make it pretty, I am choosing the tools that I would like to kind of maximize what I want from the tea, for sure. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Amy saying it's like tea basically, super sweet maple tea. I know, right? So just like tea, if I could pretend to know a lot at the beginning, but it's really going to take me 10 years to know everything about maple syrup, right? Shiloh says glaze and clay chemistry combined with the science of tea is an ongoing passion of mine. That's why I'm like tea crushing on you, Shiloh. It's just like, oh, I just want to ask Shiloh about everything tea and ceramics related. It's a real blessing to have a ceramicist who's also into tea, because I've noticed that some of my teapots are beautiful teapots, but they don't work as well with the tea as they're advertised. They're advertised as being green teapots, and then I test it and I'm like, this is horrible. Did no one test this? And then in kind of hanging out with ceramicists, it's a little bit, I don't know, it seems like it's not as obvious to test side by side with the pots that they make as we might think, because we're tea people. Our perspective is, oh, taste, and how does it, you know, affect the taste of the tea. For them, it seems like a little bit more about form, and, you know, I can't pretend to be a ceramicist, but I've certainly worked with ceramics friends who are incredibly talented, amazing potters, amazing ceramicists. But I asked them, have you tested it with a tea to figure out what it's good with? And they're like, huh, that's a good idea. Or I'm like, have you tested, you know, the cup to see what it makes it taste like? And I'm like, yeah, we do that all the time. And they're like, oh, we should do that. I'm like, wow. It also helps them with just boosting the value of their tea. So let me tell you, yeah, Shiloh is a national treasure. It's Nuev_knowledge_Orden. Yeah. So thank you, Shiloh. We really appreciate you and your sharing of bridging the two worlds. I wish I could thank everyone who is kind of like in my tea periphery, both on the Discord and just on Instagram in general, because everyone has a different experience. It seems like everyone has a new perspective to share. I thought I was experimental, and then Delphine, 10 minutes after I said, oh, maple syrup, I added it with sticky rice show yesterday. By the way, yeah, the sticky rice show from yesterday, I wanted to salvage it, so I boiled it stovetop. And then after I boiled it stovetop for 20, 25, 30 minutes, I used maple syrup to sweeten it. Not just because I was on a maple syrup kick, but specifically I thought the maple syrup would complement the taste of the sticky rice pu'er. And it was good. It was really good. Yeah. So I think I shared that on Discord yesterday, and then Delphine, 10 minutes later, posts, oh, I put hojicha and I think yancha. Like a really good yancha too, Delphine. Like shuishan laocong, like old bush yancha, old bush shuishan in her maple syrup. So I'm like, wow, there's always more to push. I'm really interested to see how that experiment turns out, for sure. Anyone else ever infused anything else with tea? When I was doing last year's mixology competition for Tea Masters Cup, I knew I was really outclassed because people came with like tea infused like vodka and gin and, you know, syrups and stuff like that. I was like, I'm gonna make some tea and add some citrus and put some sugar and then shake it, and then here you go. I did not place very well in that category, as I should not have, because I don't have any mixology experience whatsoever. there's, you know, being okay, learning how to combine flavors for myself and for my events and my workshops, but mixology competition with some of those guys was just, whew, man, tough. But sticky rice pu'er and maple syrup seems to work really well. Yeah. Yeah. The potter's tea, that's something I want to get into as a ceramicist. I want to know what teas go best with what I make in the future. And let me tell you, I feel like I will pay a significant amount more for someone's work if they know what the tea will do to it. So part of the reason why I really love these Taiwanese ceramics from my teacher's collection is because she's worked kind of with the guy, and I love her tea, and the guy loves her tea. So she gives him tea, and he drinks her tea in his pots. So he knows what the tea does inside the pots. And they know what goes well with different kinds of teas. Like this here, this kind of more dense, this is pure Taiwan clay. They call it mountain clay. It's very hard. It's very, I mean, it's not hard. It's just very porous, actually. It's very heavy. It's a little bit different here. You can compare it with the lid of the other one. These are both Taiwanese. See how like matte this one is? This one's a little bit more porous, kind of rough. Yeah. And this is incredible for high mountain oolong. Just wow. Crazy. Crazy. Crazy good. And they told me, and I tested it. I'm like, holy crap, I'm never using it one again. Which didn't happen, but wow. The performance. So yeah, the potter's tea and anyone else who does ceramics, I'm not sure if I speak for everyone, but as someone who does spend money on good teaware, I will pay more if their ceramicist seems to know what the pots are good for. Even if they don't know, if they're like, oh, I'm not actually sure what that's good with, but this one tends to be better with a certain kind of tea. And I'm like, at least they're thinking about it. Wow, okay. Here's my wallet. I wonder what my credit card account is. Yeah. So Ronan says she's infused sake and gyokuro. Wow. And she cooks a lot with hojicha. I actually don't cook with tea very much, so I'm really interested to see what you make. And Gabby, I'm glad that you like my teaware. Yeah, I like it a lot too. We make sure to eat very cheap so we can afford all the stuff we should not be able to afford at our age and our class in life. Yeah, but we just love handmade teaware. I think it was my potter friends too from New Mexico. They're not made in China and Happy Cat Pottery. They're like, oh Ree, we're so like, wow, you're so into the tea, it's amazing. But you're using like, you're like looking for handmade, high quality, soulful tea, but then you're using like factory made stuff. Why not like try it out, you know, try some handmade stuff out. I'm like, wow, they're right. Like my tea is so good. Like I pay for really good tea with like lots of soul, and I want to know where my tea comes from and that it's like treated well, but then I'll just buy like the gaiwan from like the Asian store. So that's how that happened. Dangerous. Don't hang out with ceramicists actually, because they'll pull you in to the void. I'm already in one void. I'm already into tea, you know, and then the ceramics just another thing. So we left a little bit of water on the bottom. I guess you can't hear it, but it's in there, and it's already steeping, and I'm just gonna top it up with more. So what's already there is helping the tea kind of infuse a little bit better. I mean, you know, like the leaves don't dry out completely, and there's still some flavor at the very bottom. It's gonna be quite intense, but it's going to help, I think, with the cohesiveness of the taste of the tea over time. I'm just throwing out words and trying to string them together. There's just so many things I want to express, and I wish I was better at expressing them, but I'm not. I'm really not. I struggle a lot with trying to figure out how to say things. I know I talk a lot, but I've had to practice a lot to figure that out. Yeah. Cheers. I hope you guys are having a good time. Chilling out. I'm having a good time. I wish that Jeremy told us what happened with his bitter bitter Huang Pian, he's still here, so, you know. This is steep number 4, 5-ish. That got a little bit bitey. I'm like pushing a little bit too much as it's opening up. So just put a little bit of water to kind of water it down because I want it to be soft and smooth and lovely. Perfect. Back to heaven. So this tea is tangy, it's fruity, smooth, sweet. It's got some zest to it for sure. I want to give you some more tea, Stephen. There we go. Yeah. One of the things I see in Huang Pian sometimes comes up is some of them tend to be a little bit sour. I'm not sure why that is. I don't know if it's a moisture issue. These larger leaves tend to be more difficult to remove moisture from what I understand. Like when they're withering, or they're just a little bit harder to work with, these larger leaves. So maybe that's where the sourness is coming from, or just the absence of some of those complex compounds you find higher up in the leaf. Wow, my face is like feeling numb. I'm just so comfortable. Is it really Monday? This should be like a Friday, no, like a Saturday morning or Sunday evening kind of tea. Whew, my face is hot. Wow. Steven, feel my face. Feel it. Isn't it hot?
You're always hot.
I mean, my face, not me. My face is really hot. Stupid. So Jeremy is saying, I'm still alive, but it's non-stop bitter. Wow, I wonder why. Vegetal, bitter, and a lingering astringency. No sweetness. Hey, tell us who that is so we can avoid that Huang Pian. Or send me some, because I've actually never encountered a Huang Pian that's so bitter without any sweetness. I find that most of them tend to have like a kind of tart, almost like fermenty sweetness to them. Like dried fruit. A dried fruit kind of sweetness. Shiloh says, sake-infused gyokuro sounds quite wonderful or quite delightful. Yeah, I want to try that too. I've had a gin from Lion. He's Shining Lion on Instagram, Lion on Discord. A gin distilled from sencha, gyokuro, and like 3 other like Japanese botanicals. It was really, really, really interesting. So sencha, gyokuro, and then I forgot what the other 3 Japanese botanicals were. I think it might be cherry blossom, yuzu, and I forgot what the 5th one is. But really almost stereotypically Japanese components that they distilled into a gin. And you could really taste it was a very elegant, very finesseful, just too fancy for me. I enjoyed it, but I'm like, wow. Japanese spirits are so elegant and just like the teas. Delphine, days of the week don't mean anything anymore. I wish I could just let go and not think about it being Monday. But I need to figure out what day of the week it is because, as we're wrapping up, I've gotten the 5 people who I want to interview for our Puer interviews this week to confirm. So I'm really excited! I'm not sure what days they are yet. We only know one who's going to be on Sunday, but hopefully we'll be able to do them at the same time. So 1 p.m. PST, we have 5 Puer experts. And by experts, I mean like, I should wake up and just like, channel them to try to help me with the Puer love. They're vendors, they're tea specialists, people who've studied Puer, people who are from Yunnan, just really incredible people who know much more about Puer than I do. My own teachers, I haven't just kind of picked out, oh, that guy has a big Instagram following, let's ask that guy. These are the people I really believe in, who really taught me what I know about Puer, and who I haven't nearly enough spoken to learn. And I'm just super excited because as much as I like talking with you guys and sharing what I know, whenever I'm not here, I'm like trying to learn from other people, trying to learn from the tea, and those people are just, okay, just, I'm really excited. I finally got the last confirmation today. We were drinking their tea, and I was like, yes, like, I'm so so excited!
Well, I was gonna give it away. I'm gonna post this tea for...
Oh, damn. So Discord people will know. So Discord people, I'm kind of nervous. I don't want to say on Instagram who they are yet, in case someone's like, oh, ma, like, I forgot that I have to do something this week. We'll just try to push them to next week. But those 5 people, I'm going to tell you guys on Discord who they are. Because none of them are on Discord, so we'll just hide and be like, oh my god. Just be really excited about them coming on. And I'd like to collect questions from you about what you'd like to ask each person. I'll tell you what their field of expertise in. I've asked them what they want to talk about. And they're a very diverse crew. Really excited.
Is, yeah.
It's a diverse crew for sure. And every single person will have something to share with us. I'm so selfish. I'm just like, I wanna download everything in your poor brain and put it into my brain. But we'll drink tea. We'll probably drink their tea of choice. So please watch out for that schedule coming up soon. Isn't that awesome? I'm just so grateful that they're willing to like just kind of hang out with us, and you guys definitely helped because I told them, hey, you know, it's not just gonna be some like Instagram kind of like we're just gonna like sit down and like I'm gonna waste your time. Whatever you say, whatever knowledge you share with us is gonna be really incredible, and we're gonna love it, and it's gonna make a difference. So because you guys already spend a lot of time with me, I want to make sure that you guys also have like a good, more knowledge, and not just re-talking for an hour about wood-fire teaware and everything else.
How can I join this Discord that you're talking about?
Oh my gosh. So, yeah, I'm really excited, you guys. I hope that you can tell how excited I am about all this stuff.
No, really, someone's asking.
Yeah. How do you join the Discord? You should go onto the link in my bio on T Curious. If that's just too much of a rabbit hole, it's just press the link and then there's a Discord link. You can also ask us for an invite. Or any of these wonderful people in chat will give you an invite too, because they know how to do that. Right, friends? Vanilla Obscura is here, joining us at the very end. We're drinking some Shang. We've been drinking some Huang Pian Shang. It's been really good to us, right? Matcha Miles is here too. Claudia from Tea Epiphany is here. And Beth and Violetta. Yeah. Thanks for joining us at the tail end of our Huang Pian session. So yeah, watch out for the list of people we'll be interviewing. Discord friends, you get to know first who those people are. I'll ask you guys for your questions. I have a bazillion questions to ask those guys. I just want to like, oh, I shouldn't say that on. I just want to. I was about to say I want to take all of them, put them in a car, and then lock them inside, and I'm in the middle, and I can just ask them everything. But don't tell them I said that. They're gonna be like, "What the hell, Ree?" I'm just so excited. Learning from other people is one of the best ways to learn about tea, especially not just like texting them, like actually talking to them, drinking tea. Even if you don't understand half of what they say, you'll learn something, and perspectives are just incredible. I'm just so excited. I just keep going. This tea's been great. Today's been great. You guys are great. I have such a good time. Pu'er Love has been amazing. Better than I thought. Wow. Maybe I am falling in love with Pu'er. Just like these little giddy, like, like, you know, early love feelings. Yeah. So, thank you for joining us today. It's been really fun. I'll see you guys on the Discord. Let me know if you have any questions. The replay is available. Tomorrow, 1 p.m. PST, we'll see you guys again. We'll probably be drinking a tea from the first interviewee, if we can get them on Wednesday. Because, yeah, we'll see. Okay, see you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful day. Happy Monday. Have a nice week. Toodles. Huang Pian's so good, man. Why is Pu'er so cool? How do we end this video? Yeah, we'll end this video like this.